Hello again from my front porch. This time, I've said before I don't want these to be political, and I am personally interested in politics, but I don't want these front porch videos to be political. And by that I mean they're not going to be pro any specific candidate, pro one party, or anti one party or the other. I'm not wanting to get into those kind of things. But there are times where I think it is appropriate to talk about things that are related to politics, related to that, because frankly, you're foolish to ignore that. It impacts our lives, whether we like it or not, whether we try to avoid it or not. It impacts our lives, and so there are times where I think it's still appropriate to have discussions about, okay, what's going on in that world and how is it impacting us. And this is one of those times that I want to talk about a topic that I call political pigeonholing. And what I mean by with the concept of pigeonholing simply is that someone tries to force you or someone else into their definition of that they try to pigeonhole you and then limit you to being that person. I hate that. It is a huge pet peeve of mine when somebody especially people that don't know me. This happens on Facebook a lot. I will post a comment or a response to something, and based on what I've written and what they assume I'm trying to say, because they never take anything at face value. They always look for what are you really trying to say, and what they assume, and then how they build their interpretation off their assumption. Based on all of those factors that are beyond my control, they will come back and pass judgment on me and make assumptions as to whether I'm this kind of person. And I've been called everything from a brain-numbed Fox News watching Trump supporter to a rabid, out-of-my-mind liberal, to everything in between. And the good days actually are the ones where both sides are upset with what I posted. Those are days I know I did good. But seriously, I really hate someone trying to pigeonhole me, trying to say, oh, well, no, unless you really know me, don't you dare try to presume that you can define who I am, because I guarantee you, I will defy your definition of me. And here's the really interesting thing. I really don't know very many people who actually fit a stereotype. There are a few. Yes, the stereotypes have to come from somewhere, but most of the people I know all across the political ideological spectrum, there are very few that I would say actually fit into a pigeonhole. That they're much more diverse than that. And yet, the political parties, the news organizations, marketers, the celebrities, you can go down the line. There's this list of all these different special interest groups that have their agenda that they're pushing, whether noble or otherwise. They do the same thing, where they all try to define and separate and divide up the people. That they try to say that, if you're part of the black community, then you should be voting such and such. If you're a woman, then you should be voting such and such. Or now, of course, the new interesting development is you shouldn't judge people based on their skin color, their age, or their ethnicity. However, if you are an older white man, of especially European descent, most likely Protestant, then you are the biggest problem in America today. Excuse me. What? So me, Paul Smith, I am the biggest problem in America today? Based on what? And when I push back on people with a question like that, when they throw out those kind of broad pigeonholing kind of definitions, and I turn it personal and I say, excuse me, you've just defined me. So how have I, Paul Smith, how have I done what you're accusing me of? And generally, they will come back with something to the effect of, well, there are always exceptions to every rule, and you just may be the exception. Baloney! I am not an exception to the rule. I am an individual person. The rule itself is the exception. Those stupid political pigeonholing attempts are what are a huge problem. and they continue to divide us. They continue to pit us against each other. When the reality is, I can sit down at a table with people who have completely different viewpoints on most political things, and we may not, as we talk things through, there may be some things that we just can't quite see eye to eye on. But my experience has always been 100% of the time that if I sit down and I actually have a conversation with someone, rather than throwing around accusations or forming my opinions based on assumptions that are force-fed to me through some other external entity wanting to pigeonhole everybody, if I sit down and just talk with the other person, you know what I find out? The vast majority of things, we are exactly on the same page. Oh, we may come to the page from different angles, but where we wind up, we can totally agree. So why is it? Why is it that people are all so much at odds with each other? Well, frankly, because there are a lot of individuals who have a vested interest in maintaining their own power. And their power is gained from milking our divisiveness. It's gained from milking the frustration and the hostility that continues to be churned up. Everybody wants to blame it on Donald Trump. Now, Trump is no angel, and I am not going to defend Trump. There are times he's my president. He's your president if you're an American citizen. You don't have to like it, but he is your president. And I keep hoping that he is going to be a president, that he will grow into his office. And I think we have seen some progress, but just when I start having hope, he tweets or says something stupid, and I'm like, ah. So I'm not a defender of Trump by any stretch of the imagination whatsoever. But this notion that Donald Trump is responsible for creating this level of hostility in our culture today is absolutely absurd. I mean, come on. An ostrich with its head in the sand has more awareness than that. Donald Trump actually may be more of a beneficiary of that hostility in our society. It's a divisiveness that has existed for a long time, and every time it starts feeling like we're starting to come together, that maybe some bridges are being mended and some walls are being torn down, something happens. Someone comes along, some group steps in and smashes the whole thing and generates and gears up even more turmoil and more hostility as we reinforce, yeah, well, but you're in that group and you're in that group and that person's in that group and you need to oppose this one because... Stop. Just stop. You are not defined by your group. Whoever put you in a group was a moron. You don't belong in a group. You are you. You don't belong stuffed into a political pigeonhole. You have your own brain. You have your own opinions. You have your own thoughts. And especially here in the United States of America, you are entitled and even protected to share your opinion. You don't have to agree with everything that's force-fed to you. Even if you consider yourself a loyal Republican or a loyal Democrat, you don't have to agree with everything your party stands for. And it's okay for you to say so. It's totally okay. Now, those at the top of your party won't like it. Why? Because their power comes from keeping you under the thumb. Comes from you taking marching orders from them. But here's the dirty little secret that we all seem to forget. We should not be taking instruction from those people up there. I mean, with that one up there, yes. But you know what I'm talking about. The people in DC, the power brokers there, the people on the national media, the people that do these different organizations and causes, those people are not your bosses. You are theirs. Public officials, they work for you. And in fact, they're working temp jobs. They're working contract jobs that have finite amounts of time assigned, and then after that time is up, you, the employer, can choose to send them packing We don't do enough of that, by the way, and you have the chance to coming up, but that's aside. Well, I digress. Anyway, those politicians, they work for you, not the other way around. The media people, they work for you because you know what pays their salary? Advertisements. Hello? Who's buying those things? You are! And they're putting stuff on their news, not necessarily because it's even news, but to draw you in, to suck you in. Don't be a lemming. Don't be ignorant of the game they're playing. They're playing you. Don't let them do that. And then even organizations and causes, no matter how noble they are, and there are some who are not, but no matter how noble an organization is, ultimately they need money and they need influence, power. And how are they going to get that? By trying to convince you that their cause is a desperate one. That they need you to step up right now because there's emergency, there's calamity on the horizon. They need to get you excited about that so that you will give them support and you will give them money and you will help them achieve the power and the influence that they need. And we know that to be fact too. Case in point, the NRA. You know, the NRA gets blamed for a lot of gun violence stuff. But the NRA doesn't actually commit any gun violence. Why do they get blamed? Because they were a very effective organization representing gun owners. The size of their membership, the money that they receive, and the influence that they have gives them power and influence where those who are opposed to gun ownership and the different policies, don't want to go out and digress into all that, but those who are on the other side of that debate would love nothing more than to see the NRA silenced, to see it eliminated. Why? Because they are so effective. That's why. And we see it there with the NRA, and we see others attacking, trying to take that away from them. What the NRA has, that influence, is what every organization wants. Now, they don't want to be thought of in the same thought as the NRA necessarily, but they want that level of clout. That's what every organization wants. How do they get it? By convincing you to give it to them. So you see, in all those situations, you know who's in the driver's seat? You are. You know who doesn't belong in a pigeonhole? You don't. Embrace your individuality. Be who you want to be. Believe what you want to believe, and it doesn't have to be lockstep with your party. I voted already. I early voted, and I can guarantee you my ballot was not a straight party ballot by any stretch. And in fact, I applaud the fact that in Iowa this election, there is no straight party box. There is no chance to go in and just say, I want to vote for all the Republicans, or I want to vote for all the Democrats. There isn't an option. You literally have to choose office by office who you're voting for. I think that's great. I applaud that because you should have to think about each office and each candidate and vote your conscience, not your party. Because just because they're on your party's ticket doesn't mean they're a good qualified candidate. Sorry to break it to you, but that's the truth. All right. Well, anyway, that's it. That's my I guess getting it off my chest. But I'd be curious to know your thoughts as well. What do you think? Do you think that there's this excessive political pigeonholing going on? And do you think that is a cause of the divisiveness? Or do you think that those things are not as prevalent as I'm trying to focus them on? I'd be curious to know your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments, either on Facebook or YouTube when this is out there as well. And I'll look forward to reading those. Right now, got to get going. Gonna hit the road, heading over to Cedar Rapids to do some training for the folks over there on how to do forecasting on our projects. Yay! It is an interesting topic. I think it is, and so it'll be I think a good time going over to do that. So anyway, with that, I got to get on the road because I don't want to be driving when it's getting too dark. And so I'll see y'all next time from my front porch.